Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I guess you are here to speak about this item. This is the PU code row for elevators. A different type of suspension means that is going to become more and more popular in the recent years. I'm having in my hands the green version, but into the market it is available also in a bunch of different other colors like blue, gray, black, transparent. So it looks like that the elevator industry is going to become, in a certain way, let me say, technicolor. So your elevator is getting a bunch of color installed on it. So why this tutorial? Because I received a lot of questions from all of you. So due to the fact that these questions are coming more and more frequently, I thought that was good to address in a certain way all the points, going through the user manual and explaining the main topics about the application of these suspension means. So bear with me for a few minutes and I will try to dig you through the main questions. Stay tuned. If this is the first time you are passing by my channel, well, my name is Nicola. For complete transparency, I work for Prismian in the business unit Elevator and Escalator. Besides that, occasionally, I'm teaching training courses for the industry as an independent consultant. You can find me in the main social network channels looking for Nicola and Bimbo, or alternatively as Nick the Elevator Guy. If you are not yet a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Please click below subscribe and then you are on board. The channel is, as of today, is having 500 subscribers. Please help me to bring this to higher level to get a little bit more visibility. So I trust on your support. By the way, if you are interested, recently I have published a book that you can find on Amazon dedicated to the suspension means for elevators, in which I'm dealing through every topics related to wire ropes, bugle ropes, belt, discard criteria, and whatever connected with that. You can find it on Amazon. In the description below, you can find the link to buy it. Please support my channel, giving me a little bit of help in buying this book. It's a good job. Not because I've written it, but it's a good job, trust me. Okay? So, presentation done. So let's go back to our topics. Just one note. Probably you spotted out. I'm Italian, so my pronunciation is typical Italian. You know, in Italy we are used to pronunciate every single letter of the word. So in English you are having the so-called silent letter. So let's make an example. Generally you say good morning, but we as Italian, we are going to read every single letter into the word. And so for us it could be good morning. So that's typical Italian. So please apologize me if my pronunciation is not perfect. I really hope you can understand myself. If not, let me know in the comment here below. I will try to improve in the next tutorials. But let's have a little bit of Italian flavor on that, okay? Stay with me. Before jumping on the topic of the bugle rope, I believe it is important to address the reason why we are getting into small diameter suspension means. To deal with that, I would like to show you an illustration that in 2022 I used to participate to the contest, the photo contest of Elevator World, and I get awarded the first prize in the illustration category because this illustration clarify in a very easy approach which are the reason why progressively the motors for elevator are becoming smaller and smaller. I call this illustration the bucket challenge because I represent the idea of the torque of the motor in the same way of sustaining 2 buckets of water with your arms. So if you are keeping your arms close to your body, you can sustain the weight of these 2 buckets of water in a very easy manner for several minutes most probably. But as soon as you try to spread out your arms, then you will start to feel a lot of stress into your shoulder. What is that? This is the torque that you are perceiving. So imagine the distance between the 2 buckets of water as the diameter of the traction sheave. So the larger the diameter of the traction sheave, the higher the torque required to move this load. So it is useless to say, but higher torque means bigger motor and more expensive motor. So the cost of the motor in the gearless machines, the cost of the motor is directly proportional to the diameter of the traction sheet. So first of all, there is a cost issue. Second point, there is the fact that the motor will be lightweight, will be smaller, and putting a smaller motor inside a shaft can allow you to have a larger cabin to be installed inside. And this is something to pay a great attention in the next future, because with the same shaft dimension, you can put a larger payload cabin inside. This is something that is changing completely the anatomy of the elevator in the next future. So with that, I hope to have explained to you reasonably enough the reason why we are getting into small diameter traction sheaves in small suspension means. So now we can get back to the topic of the P-Hugo rope. So let's jump in. As you can see in the surface, it is printed some reference number, the batch number, the name of the rope, the reference date of manufacturing, and furthermore, there is as well a dotted line on the surface, and this dotted line, it is called installation line. What the installation line is aimed for? What is the reason why an installation line is printed on the surface of the rope? Well, as the name says, the installation line is used during the installation of the rope, because this is an aid, a visual aid, that helps you to understand if your rope has been installed without torsion. But this is not the only topic for which you can benefit of the installation line, because when the elevator is traveling and you see the installation line spinning like the barber pole shop, well, you are having some issue there, because this is indicating to you that most likely the sheaves are not perfectly aligned, or that the rope has been installed with torsion. In any case, you need to do something to avoid that. So you have to realign the sheaves, you have to reset up the situation, and you need to do some sort of operation to ensure that everything is bring back to the original condition. So pay attention to the installation line, because this is the first rule to have an elevator working in a proper condition. Don't forget about that P-Hugo rope are having a quite high friction factor, so they can build up torsion easily if there are misalignment. Now we are going to jump into the user manual. I will put over here some snapshot from the user manual. In any case, in the description below, you can find a link to download the PDF of the user manual. Read through as carefully as possible before using the P-Hugo rope, because this will give you a lot of indication and can save you a lot of time into troubleshooting. So let's jump in and see what is reported into the user manual. I decided to write the user manual a few years ago because I was receiving too many questions from the users on which were the right rules to use the rope in a proper manner. So now I'm going to put out over here some snapshot of the user manual in a way that you can have some visual aid to better understand the topic. The user manual will start obviously with an image of the rope itself with the technical characteristics. So just to be clear, what we are going to speak about from now on is the rope diameter 6.5 that you can see on my hands, that is having an external diameter of 6.5 obviously, a breaking load of 28 kilonewton, and the inner portion of the rope is 5 millimeter. So this is the rope in which we are centering our attention, but as a general rule, what we are going to say, it is valid for every type of P-Hugo ropes. So the general principle applies to everyone. So the first attention you need to pay at is into handling care. So P-Hugo rope are very delicate and sensible to external contaminations. So if the rope is contaminated in a certain way, the first operation you have to do is cleaning. First of all with soap water, and if this is not enough, you have to use IPA, isopropyl alcohol, in a diluted way, because this can be harmful in a big quantity, in big concentration for the coating of the TPU rope. And with this operation, you will clean very energetically the surface of the rope, but also the groove of the sheaves, and then the condition will be restored as the original manufacturing. So pay attention to the cleanliness of the situation. The first recommendation the user manual is addressing is protection from the external environment. So PU rope shall be stored into closed environment, not exposed to direct sunlight and not exposed to rain, water, humidity, and things like that. So it is really important to keep in a dry environment. The second point is pay attention to the cross-contamination. So if you are having a cutting machine with rollers, with countermeter, that has been used with conventional wire ropes, you know, conventional wire ropes are lubricated in the outer surface, so most likely the rollers are contaminated by lubricant. So if you are passing through the PU rope into these rollers, most likely you are going to contaminate the surface of the rope. So first rule at all is clean very well the machines, the rollers on which you are going to do the cut lengths of the ropes, always with isopropyl alcohol, or even better, use the cutting lines that has been dedicated specifically for PU ropes, or alternatively that are used to cutting electrical cables, because in this case you are completely sure that there are no cross-contamination. Another point very important for your workers during installation is that the gloves that they are using are very dry, are very clean. So do not use gloves that are contaminated with lubricant, because in this way you are going to cross-contaminate the surface of the rope. And if the rope is contaminated, the rope will start to slip on the traction sheet. So most of the problems that we figured out in the field has been caused by contamination during the installation, during the handling. So please pay great attention to cleanliness of the situation. Then in the user manual you will find as well handling instructions. I will not bother you too much. These are typical handling instructions. You can read through the manual, you can download it in the description below, and you can see all the care you need to pay attention. It is nothing special compared to handling procedure for wire ropes. You have to pay close attention to sharp edges and be sure that you are not torsioning the rope during the uncoiling. I'm showing over here a snapshot of some instruction of uncoiling the rope to ensure that you are not making kinks on the surface of the rope, that you are uncoiling properly without building up torsion inside the rope itself. And please, if you are uncoiling on the ground, ensure that the ground is a clean surface. Do not uncoil the rope on dirty surface or rough surface. Please be sure that there will be no contamination on the surface. Even though if some contamination happens, the great rule is to clean the surface of the rope before putting the elevator in service. And if you are using plastic strips to fix the coil of the rope, please pay attention that no sharp edges shall be in touch with the surface of the TPU. Let's jump into some recommendation of engineering of the elevator. It is really important that the reeving arrangement will have the sheaves very well aligned. The maximum allowed fleet angle is 0.5 degree, and as you can imagine, 0.5 degree is quite challenging number. You cannot get to this point with the visual alignment. You have to use some special tool like a line plumb or laser pointer or whatever it is necessary to be used to be sure that the sheaves are very well aligned. Please pay attention to this, because skipping out this procedure will create you a lot of trouble with noise, with torsion, with short lifetime of the rope, and so on. One recommendation that I feel to be provided to the market is try to avoid the sheaves torsioned by 90 degrees. Try to have all the sheaves in the same plane. The fact is that the rope diameter 6.5 can work on sheaves of diameter 120 millimeter, so this will allow you to put all the sheaves in the same plane and having a quite clean and reasonable reeving arrangement. If you follow this recommendation, then I'm quite convinced that your system will be smooth, silent, and work with great satisfaction for yourself. Then into the user manual I reported also important information dedicated to the geometry of the groove, to the maximum roughness that is RA 1.6 micrometers, and to the fact that the surface should be as smooth as possible. There are reported friction factor, but please Let's be clear on that. The friction factors that are reported there are obtained into a laboratory setup. So once you install your elevator, you need to double check that everything is working in a proper manner. Into the user manual, it is reported that it is mandatory to test the configuration in a prototype stage in a way to ensure that everything is working properly before introducing the complete elevator into the market. Pay attention to this point because PU coated ropes manufactured by different producers are having different friction factor, and traction sheave manufactured by different producer are having different roughness of the surface because they are using different material, they are using different cutting speed, they are using different cutting tools. So every combination of the PU coated rope and traction sheave shall be tested before bringing the elevator into the practical use. So this is a part that I recommend you strongly to read through and to understand. Another very important recommendation is that sheaves shall be absolutely clean, absolutely no painted on the grooves because the paint can contaminate the surface of the TPU, no further chemical applied on top of it, so everything shall be avoided. So the grooves of the traction sheave and the deflection sheave shall be bare steel, no material placed on top of it, and follow strictly what is reported in the user manual. So it is recommended as well to use asymmetric socket, and be clear on this point, because the combination between the PU coated rope and the socket shall ensure that the breaking load of the junction shall get at least to the 80% of the breaking load of the rope itself. Generally, you have to deal with specially manufactured asymmetric socket because they are a little bit longer and different in geometry in a way to protect the surface of the PU coated rope. And furthermore, ensure that the set of ropes is well tensioned, that there is not uneven tension between one rope and the other. To accomplish this point, I strongly recommend you to use an electronic device to ensure that the equal tensioning is in place. Don't do this with your thumb because it does not work. If you want, I leave here on top of here a link to see a tutorial in which I describe the procedure to do a proper equal tensioning. Is in Italian language, but there are English captions at the bottom, so I'm sure you can understand what is the topic described on this tutorial. And then another important point is that the machine shall be perfectly horizontal. Okay, it shall not be tilted in one side or in another, because if this happens, then you will start to hear a lot of noise, a lot of problems into the application. And then the sockets shall be close enough to ensure that the fall of the ropes are perfectly vertical. So pay great attention to these features because if you skip out these points, then your system will give you troubles and problems. So following this instruction will help you to get through the point in a very proper manner. The question that I'm receiving very often is, can PU coated rope be used in panoramic elevator? The answer generally is yes, but there are a couple of conditions. The first condition is that the glass of the panoramic elevator shall be able to shield at least 95-98% of the UV ray. This is generally respected because the glasses used for panoramic elevator are so-called safety glasses. They are laminated glasses in which in the middle there is a PVB foil. This PVB foil is there because in case the glass broke out, the piece of the glass will not fall out. But this PVB foil is having also another characteristic that is important to us. This is able to shield 95-98% of the UV ray. Please double check with your supplier of the glasses to ensure that this requirement is respected. So when it comes to UV ray, then we have accomplished this requirement. There is another requirement that we need to pay attention to, that is the maximum temperature inside the shaft. This is indicated as the 50 degrees Celsius. So if your panoramic elevator is exposed to the sunlight all the day long, most likely you are going to surpass this limit. But if the panoramic elevator is exposed to the sunlight a few hours per day, most likely you can get below this 50 degrees. So there is no need to use special glasses, but ensure that the environment is suitable for this type of application. So that's really important recommendation. And the last recommendation into the environmental condition is ensure that the environment is not condensating. Because if there are condensating conditions, so little drop of waters are forming on the surface of the rope, on the traction sheave, deflection sheaves, and so on, then there is a big risk that your elevator will slip out because the aquaplaning phenomena will happen. To ensure that you are not into condensating environmental condition, be sure that there is a good flow of air inside the shaft, and then the drop of water will not form any longer. So environmental conditions are extremely important. I'm reporting back as well another information about plastic sheaves. Okay, some of you has asked me, hey, can we use synthetic sheaves? So plastic is not the right term. Synthetic sheaves to be used in combination with PU gutter ropes. The answer is yes, you can use synthetic sheaves as deflecting sheaves, okay? Just a recommendation, in selecting your synthetic sheaves, ensure that the material is of good quality in a way to not cross-contaminate the surface of the TPU rope, and ensuring that the surface is having low frictions, because if there is high friction synthetic material, then you will start to hear a lot of noise. And when you are using synthetic sheaves, the equal tensioning is furthermore important into your configuration. So finally, synthetic sheaves can be used, but pay attention to what I reported to you so far. Then, before entering the last portion of the user manual that is devoted to discard criteria, I feel the need to express to you one final recommendation. When you are testing the buffered condition, so cabin on the buffer or counterweight on the buffer, please ensure that this condition is verified by a safety circuit. The EN8120 allows you to do this procedure, that the buffer conditions are detected by electric safety circuit, because if you are making the traction sheave and the rope slipping so much during this type of buffering test conditions, then the surface of the rope will be irremediably damaged. If you do this occasionally for a very short time, it's okay, but if this happens on a regular basis, then it is strongly recommended to do this via an electric safety circuit. Then let's go to the final portion of the user manual, in which we are dealing with discard criteria. I will not go through everything into this portion, so take your time to read through, because it's really important to read all these recommendations. But basically, consider that the PU gutter rope diameter 6.5 working over traction sheaves of 120 mm can allow you to have in one-to-one suspension roughly 3 million trips. And when you are dealing with a 2-to-1 suspension, you can get easily to 1 million trips. So the discard criteria is based on the number of trips that the elevator can run in conjunction with a limit time that is 10 years from the manufacturing of the rope itself. So this is reported and clearly stated into the user manual at the chapter discard criteria. Then into the discard criteria chapter, you see as well some image of damaged surface, cracked surface, wire protruding through the TPU. A very important information, the discard criteria can be easily spotted out by visual control. Okay, so whatever is reported in the discard criteria can allow you to fill your procedure of periodical inspection of the suspension means, and if a wire is breaking out, is piercing through the TPU surface. So you will see it immediately. There is no risk that you don't see it. So these were the last information. I strongly recommend you to download the user manual. In the description below, there is the link to download it. Before going into PU code suspension means, irrespective if it is PU code rope or belt, because whatever I told you so far, it is valid both for ropes that for belts. But before jumping into this type of technology, please be sure to document yourself very well. Further than the user manual, there is as well a type certificate provided by the manufacturer of the PU rope, in which you will find all the information to get confirmation of the installation. So PU rope as of today are not included into the EN 81, 20 and 50. For that reason, you need to deal with a risk assessment procedure, but with the information included into the certificate and into the user manual, you can easily deal with this topic. In the future, most likely, Pugo rubber belt will be included in the new code. We need to wait until the new code will be published to understand what is happening in this respect, but stay tuned because information can come. I hope that this content has been useful for you, that you find this interesting. Let me know your comment here below. If I was able to address to you the main point and provide to you the most relevant information, whichever constructive comment would be very much appreciated. Please reach out to me via social networks, and if you want to share something with me, comment here below. Many thanks, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned. New information are coming. Thank you. Ciao, 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 ciao.